Headlines of VTV News. Removing difficulties for $1.5 billion interest rate support package. Attracting overseas Vietnamese investment in real estate market. And later on in our world news, huge landslide strikes village in Papua New Guinea with 100 people feared dead.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello and welcome to VTV News, broadcast live to you from Hanoi. You're with me, Lina Fatman. Here's the top news of the hour. At the National Assembly session on Friday, on behalf of the National Assembly and the National Assembly Standing Committee, National Assembly Vice Chair Nguyễn Khắc Định expressed sadness about the fire in Hanoi that killed 14 people and sent his deep condolences to the families of the victims. The Vice Chair of the National Assembly requested the Ministry of Public Security, Hanoi People's Committee, and other forces to directly and quickly overcome the consequences, prioritize promptly treating the injured, and help the victims' families. The National Assembly requested the government, relevant agencies and forces to direct and strengthen fire prevention and firefighting throughout the country. Fire prevention and firefighting instructions need to be widely disseminated through the mass media so that people can increase their vigilance, respond promptly, and prevent fires and explosions from occurring. National Assembly deputies focused their discussions on lawmaking on Friday, the fifth day of the 15th National Assembly's 7th session. Following the presentation of a report proposing revision of the draft law on archives, deputies discussed several issues and debated differing opinions on the draft law. Deputies suggested adding regulations ensuring the right to access information of individuals, organizations, and agencies in society to guarantee consistency between archival laws and other legislation. They also suggested that it is necessary to regulate who has access to electronic document sources and that there needs to be an integration between electronic document sources and administrative procedure reform. The decision on planning for the northern Midlands and mountainous region has been presented to the relevant provinces at an event held on Friday in Phú Thọ province. Deputy Prime Minister Trần Lưu Quang requested that the provinces focus resources and carry out the key tasks set out in the approved plan. In particular, localities need to prioritize the development of synchronous modern infrastructure, regional, inter-regional, and international connections, developing logistic infrastructure and promoting digital transformation. The provinces should have dedicated policies to develop specific tourism products. The Deputy Prime Minister also requested that localities promote site clearance to implement projects, especially roads, to promote localities' involvement in the development process. In January 2022, the National Assembly passed a fiscal and monetary policy resolution specifying a supporting interest rate of 2% per year up to $1.5 billion for businesses and cooperatives that can repay debt and recover after the pandemic. Other supporting programs included loans to renovate old apartments and social building housing. However, by the end of 2023, banks had only disbursed approximately $47 million, equivalent to around 3% of the support package. Therefore, the government has requested the National Assembly extend the policy for another 6 months instead of ending it on June the 30th.
As soon as the support package was issued, this business borrowed capital. Even though it maintained export momentum immediately after the pandemic and met the recovery criteria, this business still has to give up its support package.
There are too many procedures, and post-disbursement procedures are very complicated. We have to hire at least one employee to specialize in preparing documents and procedures before and after receiving disbursements.
The disbursement procedures are even more complicated for cooperatives and business households. Many problems arise, such as a need for more collateral or the requirement of having red invoices, while most households only have retail invoices.
No unit or agency has provided information about the support package to the province's 1,260 communes. Like us, even the top 5 and top 10 communes don't know much about it.
According to the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry, only 30% of businesses and cooperatives know about this policy, and just 2% of businesses have received loans.
We can only expect better disbursements by following market principles and converting them into commercial transactions.
It is necessary to develop strict criteria that do not cause a loss of state capital but are also open enough for banks and businesses to utilize the support package.
For the remaining capital that has yet to be disbursed, the government will submit proposals to the National Assembly to cancel the capital plan, mobilize resources, and avoid increasing overspending.
About 6 million Vietnamese live in more than 130 countries and territories, 80% of whom live in developed countries. This is the potential investment source for the domestic real estate market. The government has recently approved a proposal to advance the effective date of the 2024 land law from July the 1st this year instead of July the 1st, 2025. This is expected to become a lever to attract overseas Vietnamese to invest in the country in the near future. However, according to experts' assessments, there needs to be more effective channels to communicate information about the law to overseas Vietnamese and the issuing of timely guidance circulars.
Dan Chi is a Vietnamese living in the United Kingdom. In 2020, she started investing in several real estate products in Vietnam, but encountered challenges in legal procedures, especially in owning real estate in her name.
I have both Vietnamese and British citizenship. However, I couldn't previously own real estate under my name, so I had to ask my parents. Since my parents didn't understand the procedure, they encountered many problems.
The Land Law 2024 has identified two groups of overseas Vietnamese, Vietnamese people residing abroad and people of Vietnamese origin residing abroad, and listed more specific regulations for these two groups. However, many overseas Vietnamese and real estate businesses face difficulty assessing information and applying new regulations.
Buying real estate in Vietnam requires online research, but no official information is online. I'm lost on how to learn about the land law and the process of buying and selling houses.
It's important to identify who is considered a person of Vietnamese origin. They must go to Vietnam's consulate or embassy to receive a confirmation of Vietnamese origin. The government's official announcements related to real estate ownership need to be regularly updated online.
Many overseas Vietnamese are grouped as foreigners when buying a house in Vietnam. We expect the guidance circulars to be even more specific, supporting people with Vietnamese nationality or Vietnamese origin.
The Land Law 2024, which takes effect on July 1st, 2024, is an important legal step to help Vietnam attract a wave of investment from overseas Vietnamese into domestic real estate market, creating resources to promote development.
Currently, more than 2.8 million overseas Vietnamese and over 3,000 overseas Vietnamese businesses are investing in production and business, with more than $1.7 billion in capital entering Ho Chi Minh City. Overseas Vietnamese are making important contributions to Ho Chi Minh's economic development. Thus, the city needs strategies to continue attracting this resource.
This center has over 20 pieces of food hygiene and safety inspection equipment and in-depth traceability. Tens of millions of dollars have been invested in it. The founder is entrepreneur scientist Henry Bui, who chose to return to Vietnam and open an analytical laboratory.
We're creating special equipment that Vietnam and neighboring countries have yet to acquire. That's what makes us unique.
We invest money and invite overseas investors within our network to return to Vietnam.
For overseas Vietnamese to invest in the city's largest projects, a framework aligning with Resolution 98 must be designed, focusing on semiconductor, biotechnology, and large data center industry.
The city needs special approaches, such as a mechanism to attract remittances. It must also focus on other sectors like tourism, trade, and investment.
In the coming years, the city will find ways to issue urban and railway bonds to attract overseas investment for its key development projects.
Ho Chi Minh City's leaders pledge to create a favorable business environment for overseas Vietnamese to continue supporting the city's development. In addition, seminars and discussions will be regularly held to promote Resolution 98 more widely, thereby helping overseas Vietnamese to invest more in the city's key projects.
Coming up next, Forum discusses Vietnam's green transition. And data leak prevention crucial to prevent online scams. You're watching VTV News. Vietnam is taking multiple actions to achieve net zero emissions as agreed. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions is also crucial to meeting the requirements of exports markets and the global supply chain. This is one of the views of the Vietnam-Singapore Board Forum, which took place on Friday in Hanoi.
Many banks and global investment funds consider environmental, social and governance or ESG efforts important in investment decisions for projects worldwide.
All banks and financial institutions has a set of criteria for businesses to access green and sustainable financial capital. The question is whether businesses have built an ESG strategy and incorporated sustainability into their core values.
Green finance has been deployed in Vietnam for more than 10 years. As of the first quarter of this year, outstanding green credit debts reached nearly $25 billion, accounting for about 4.5% of the economy's total. However, experts at the forum assess that the current proportion of green credit is still small.
Increasingly, you also see more alternative financing channels, tools. For example, many ESG ratings are developed to assess how green, how sustainable each business is, and the investors are increasingly focusing on those ESG ratings.
According to the World Economic Forum, Vietnam plays an important and active role in the green transition process for the region and internationally by participating in almost all supply chains. The transition to green in the country is unavoidable.
Vietnam plays a very important role in this transition. Recently, Vietnam announced its hydrogen strategy with very ambitious targets by 2030 and 2050 to achieve a higher percentage of energy consumption through hydrogen and alternate sources. And it is very important for ASEAN countries to come up with an agreement.
According to statistics from the Vietnam Association of Foreign Investment Enterprises, FDI capital pouring into green and sustainable growth sectors in Vietnam increased by an average of 10 to 13%. This shows that Vietnam is committed to green transformation and pressures investment attraction policies to adapt to changes.
Last year, online scammers defrauded people of more than $314 million. The tricksters used sophisticated methods like spam phone numbers and AI to commit fraud. One reason online scamming has exploded is user data leaks. The criminals access information about the victim's family members, thereby gaining the victim's trust.
World cybersecurity experts discovered about 26 billion leaked user data records earlier this year, the largest volume ever. Vietnam's Zing application is listed as one of the sources of the leaks, with 164 million records compromised.
When asked to install an application on our phone, we should check its origin. Do not install applications that are not available on official app stores.
Recently, an elderly woman in Daegu District, Hanoi, had more than $700,000 scammed by someone pretending to be a police officer. A woman in Bình Định was scammed out of over $1.1 million when she registered her child to participate in a marathon via social networks. Experts recommend that to avoid data leaks, it is necessary to apply the principle of zero trust.
Zero trust is when we don't trust anyone online 100%. Don't completely trust any technical staff, any system, any solution. We should combine many different information security solutions and apply multiple layers of protection to minimize risks.
The authorities must strictly tackle user data leaks. Last year, 1,500 online scam cases were prosecuted. However, up to 1,200 cases had to be suspended, and the investigation was extended because the culprit had not been identified. The key to scams is to prey on people's greed, gullibility, and lack of vigilance. Therefore, users must be alert and not click on suspicious links.
In 1946, President Ho Chi Minh signed a decree establishing the Department of Public Works and Traffic, marking the birth of Vietnam's military engineering. The troops' mission was not to fight the enemy, but was equally arduous and dangerous as other soldiers. They also faced dangers when constructing roads and bridges and during demining. After the Northwest Campaign in 1951, military engineering was awarded a flag embroidered with 5 golden words, opening the way to victory, which have become Vietnam's military engineering a tradition. More in the following.
Nearly 4 million tons of bombs and mines, nearly double the total amount of bombs in the Second World War, were used to hit the Trường Sơn trails to destroy bridges and roads, cutting off supply lines. The U.S. military's flags were scattered continuously during the night. This compass has been with Major General Hoàng Kiên since his army days. He served as the commander of the military engineering forces during the war. He and his comrades endured rains of bombs and bullets, opening new trails and carrying out repairs. Their fighting motto was live on the battlefields, die resiliently and courageously.
The military engineers must respond to everything. We endured frequent airstrikes to open the way, bringing the whole nation to the battlefield to fight and win the war.
The Trường Sa archipelago more than 30 years ago had no fresh water. It was only bare white coral sandstone, but now it's covered in green like this. Large islands have gardens, small islands have trellises. Brick houses have wooden boxes for growing plants. Major General Hoàng Kiên and his comrades came to the Trường Sơn Range to bring soil to these rocking outcrops of the vast ocean. The 83rd Naval Engineer Regiment also built dikes and concrete embankments around the islands to create wells for collecting rainwater.
Only military engineering can help. We build more than just roads, which means that any task must be fulfilled, no matter how difficult. We all do our tasks while maintaining the qualities of Uncle Ho's soldiers, resilience and courage. We withstand the storm and the wind, which blew throughout my youth. No matter it is the mainland, the sea and the islands, we go where the missions are. There is a great love immersed in our hearts. We keep the image of the fatherland burning in our hearts.
17 wild animals have just been released into their natural habitat by Phong Nha Kẻ Bàng National Park's Wildlife Rescue Conservation and Development Center in Quảng Bình Province. All the animals are endangered and comprise pig-tailed muscats, civets, various species of turtles, small lorises, wildcats, palm civets, ground pythons, and hoary bamboo rats. The wildlife was voluntarily handed over to the authorities by the members of the public. After being released, Phong Nha Kẻ Bàng National Park will continue to protect and monitor their environment and safety. When Hội An streets are still asleep, a man walks quietly, pushing a cart and picking up trash. His name is Nguyễn Thương, a veteran living in Cửa Đại Ward, Hội An City. He has been diligently collecting trash for the past 8 years without receiving any compensation. The following story is our report on this special way of protecting the environment.
I suffered from a stroke, meningitis, and mastoiditis. I learned Uncle Ho's lesson: never be arrogant in victory, never be discouraged in defeat. I overcame my difficulties. I sleep from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., wake up to exercise and pick up trash.
Many people said my husband was always picking up trash. I kept yelling at him not to do it.
I kept going even though my wife and children distracted me. I find meaning in my work. Later, my family understood and encouraged me. Walking on street cleans every morning makes me happy.
Thương used to pick up trash only at night, but now he also collects from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. He designed his own uniform, trash carts, and slogans to preserve and clean the environment. During the past 8 years, his praiseworthy actions have inspired the community.
He provides us with a clean environment, which is very meaningful. We also joined him in picking up trash on the embankments at Cửa Đại Beach.
Even though he is old and has health issues, he still has a strong spirit for protecting the environment. His action has encouraged locals and tourists to join forces to protect the environment.
When I pick up trash, the sunshine and the clean environment make me happy. I will keep doing it all my life. Let's join hands to keep the environment clean.
Coming up next in our world news, huge landslide strikes village in Papua New Guinea with 100 people feared death. And according to WHO, tobacco and nicotine industry hooking the next generation. An estimated 100 people are feared dead after a landslide hit a remote region in Papua New Guinea. The disaster hit a Khao Kalam village in Papua New Guinea's Enga province, about 600 kilometers northwest of Papua New Guinea's capital, Port Moresby. At about 3 a.m. local time on Friday, at least 6 villages were affected and many homes were destroyed, as well as the fields that locals rely on to feed themselves. Emergency response teams, including disaster police and health workers, were sent to the area as the extent of the damage was assessed. The World Health Organization, WHO, and STOP, a global tobacco industry watchdog, are launching Hooking the Next Generation, a report highlighting how the tobacco and nicotine industry designs products, implements marketing campaigns, and works to shape policy environments to help them addict the world's youth.
The report comes just ahead of World No Tobacco Day marked on May 31st, where the WHO is amplifying the voices of young people who are calling on governments to protect them from being targets of the tobacco and nicotine industry.
They're giving free samples to kids at sports events and concerts. They're paying social media influencers. They're paying ads and product placements with streaming services. And they have partnerships with food delivery services so that you can get your e-cigarettes through the app right at your door.
Despite significant progress in reducing tobacco use, the emergence of other new tobacco and nicotine products present a grave threat to youth and tobacco control. WHO urges governments to protect young people from the uptake of tobacco, e-cigarettes, and other nicotine products by banning or tightly regulating these products. WHO recommendations include creating 100% smoke-free indoor public places, banning flavored e-cigarettes, bans on marketing, advertising, and promotion, higher taxes, increasing public awareness of the deceptive tactics used by the industry, and supporting youth-led education and awareness initiatives.
At least 9 people in India's state Rajasthan died of suspected heat stroke this week as large parts of India continue to swelter under a heat wave. The news comes after the city of Barmer in Rajasthan topped temperature charts this week with a record 48.8 degrees Celsius on Thursday. Temperatures in northern India are forecast to increase by 3 to 4 degrees Celsius in the next few days. Weather officials have warned of conditions ranging from a heat wave to a severe heat wave in several northern states and issued a red alert for many districts in Rajasthan state for the next 3 days. Thailand's National Economic and Social Development Council, or NESDC, on a Friday called for the Thai government to introduce regulations and provide support for this burgeoning career path. The NESDC has proposed a registration system for Thai influencers and regulations to help prevent influencers from spreading fake or unverified news that could cause public confusion. The Thai government's Anti-Fake News Center reported that some Thai influencers had been found to have advertised illegal websites such as online gambling to their millions of followers. In Thailand, there are about 2 million influencers, the second largest number in ASEAN after Indonesia. Influencing, streaming, and creating content are now among the top 10 dream careers for Thai adolescents in 2024, outranking traditional professions such as law and aviation. And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's it for this edition of VTV News. Thank you very much for watching. To rewatch our program, you can download VTV Go from App Store or Google Play, or tune in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VTV4Go. Goodbye for now.